Namaskaram, good evening to all. My specialization for the MEd program is educational technology, but it was my post-graduation in English literature that helped me get a job as lecturer in English. But when I joined the College of Teacher Education in 2004, there was none to teach the compulsory paper Information and Communication Technology. So I volunteered to teach it and continued for 20 years. The real fruit of that teaching is the book that is to be released today, entitled ICT Application in ELT. The second book is an elaboration of my MPhil research on British radio drama, which I pursued in Kerala University. Today, because of all of you, ladies and gentlemen, both my books will be formally released. Thank you all for responding to my invitation to join this program. With the rapid growth in technology, the internet, Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, one had to be a continuous learner. So I began exploring the possibility of teaching using the digital resources available. A few academics who noted my interest was the faculty of the Institute of English, University of Kerala, who used to regularly invite me for engaging workshops. It was there that I met a very soft-spoken and thorough gentleman, Dr. Hariharan, for whom I had an instant liking. Now he is the head of the Institute of English, University of Kerala. During workshops, we could work together, and then I used to admire his perception of learner needs. A couple of weeks ago, when I met him, he gratefully agreed to release my books and receive them for the library of the Institute of English. I am indebted to you, sir, for this kind gesture. Several friends, colleagues, and senior teachers whom I respect have been invited. I welcome you all to this program. My former students and a few whom I am teaching now are also attending. Thank you for joining. I would like to thank and welcome two special students, Ms. Atulya Shanavas and Ms. Parvati, who will be comparing and offering the vote of thanks. Atulya just completed her B.Ed program in flying colors, and Parvati is now getting trained to become a teacher of English. I now request Ms. Atulya to introduce today's guest, Professor B.Hariharan.
Good evening, one and all. Dr. B.Hariharan is the professor and head of Institute of English, Kerala University. He began his career as a faculty of Prajyoti Niketan College, Pudukkad, Kerala, and in 1995 moved to Mysore University, where he served as associate professor for a couple of years, and in 2011 he joined as the faculty of the Institute of English, Kerala University. Dr. Hariharan is interested in Canadian studies, translation practice, and diaspora studies, and has published several articles in research journals. A popular and amiable teacher, he prefers interactive classrooms, which he perceives as the best opportunity to unlearn and learn with students. After receiving the doctoral research fellowship of Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, New Delhi, he pursued research in the Department of English, University of Manitoba, Winnipeg, Canada. His UGC major research project, which attempted a study of Kerala's public spaces, led to the conclusion that elephants, snakeboards, and Kathakali are the most important cultural icons that have left an indelible mark and shaped the cultural psyche and public space of Kerala. We are honored to have such an eminent researcher and amiable teacher as the chief guest of this function. On behalf of all of us present here, I welcome Professor Hariharan to this function. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir was supposed to be in the Institute of English, but he had to rush to the Karivittam campus for an urgent meeting. Unfortunately, he won't be able to hand over the books to the librarian, but still he will be formally releasing it and speaking a few words. He has the books with him. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for those nice words, and thank you, Praveen, for having me for this very special occasion. See, it's not always that you would have somebody who, let's say, has retired. Teachers do not retire, but then officially you retire and then you come with 3 publications. It's an uncommon thing to do, And I would say that English teachers generally do uncommon things. And so I would say that what you have done is no different. So before I say that I have, launched the book or released the book, what I'll do is maybe I'll talk a little bit very briefly about the books that you gave me for this function. And I would begin by talking about very briefly, of course, about the thoughts that came to my mind as I was reading your BBC and the radio drama experience. I'll talk about it and then go to the other book, ICT application in ELT, very briefly. So I won't take too much of the time. I started reading this book and I was struck first by the page, the certification page, where I recognized my head of the department signature, and of course the MPhil program that you did, which took me to my MPhil program at the institute, which in turn took me back to my days as a student. And as I plunged into the book, I was reminded of my days as you were reminded, as you have recounted your days as a student, listening to radio. So what I'm going to do is, rather than talk a lot about BBC and the radio drama, rather than do that, what I thought I'll share with you is my own memories of the BBC. There was no television in the early 80s, 70s, of course. I remember watching black and white movies on television whenever I would visit Chennai, late 70s. But nothing of theater or even other programs. Radio primarily was meant for Binaka Geetmala and Radio Ceylon and the usual songs that we would have, and programs on agriculture, etc., on farmers, etc. But that is what you would get on something called the. I'm from Calicut, so in Calicut we had at home this old radio, which had it was a huge affair, and you had to tune it, and there was something called the medium wave and the short wave, S3 and MW. So you tune in S3 to get to Sri Lanka, Radio Ceylon, and then MW for Vivid Bharati. And apart from that, if you were lucky, if the connection was good, you had to pay tax for the radio in those days. And if you were lucky, if the lines were clear, you would get BBC, depending on where you were. So Praveen talks a lot about listening to Shakespeare, and of course watching. So I recall one very, very, let's say, very interesting incident that happened when I was a student. So I muster courage and go to my professor and talk to him in English. He said, Hariharan, at 9:30 tonight, switch on BBC and you can hear the complete text of King Lear. Now, what more will you tell him? So we all know about BBC. We all kind of would read the Hindu every day, grab Sports Star, Frontline, all that we would do. But listening to BBC radio and then trying to understand King Lear was a little difficult. But then we wouldn't dare tell that to him. So I nodded my head. I said, okay, sir. And I go back to the class and tell my friends, look, this is what Prof was saying. So they looked at each other. Anyway, we went home, and 9:30 we turned on, located the channel, and we got King Lear. But the best part is that was a really, really remarkable thing, because it made you go after the performances of John Gielgud and Laurence Olivier and Peggy Ashcroft. But it certainly was very inspiring, very motivating for all of us. And then I was looking at the entire history almost of the popular programs on BBC, etc., coming in, that you do not think that this was a work that was done in 93, 94. And you realize that this is a work that has been updated, made as current as possible. And I would say that this is what marks the work that Praveen does as a teacher and as a researcher. And I would say that it's much the same that happened with ICT application in ELT. No different, as he himself said, there was nobody to teach ICT application in ELT when he joined, and he took it upon himself. Now, this book, I would say, therefore, is very special in the sense that it has something related to what he did as a teacher in the classroom, and all the examples, the things that, the work that he gives you, the exercises that he gives you, the way in which one should go about with ICT, the teaching of ELT. Now that, I would say, is the biggest strength of this book. Now that is being very formal. To put it in very down-to-earth terms, I have my own take on ICT-enabled teaching. At the institute, I've listened to people who do work in this area and then talk about how they use technology in the classroom and the kind of technology, rather, that can be used in a classroom. The question that I have largely is this. We can come up with exercises, we can come up with the work that we do. We might prepare a booklet, identify or prepare short videos, go there, transact this in classrooms, which is what every researcher would do, and then see how test the efficacy of the material, then see how students respond, prepare the table, prepare the chart, and therefore you test your hypothesis, etc. This is what is done. Now, the question that that always bothers me is this. Well, you do this research, and you say that, look, it is quite possible to use technology to teach language, to teach grammar, it probably will help students how to pronounce words, etc. But the basic thing there is that you need to have an agent, and the agent happens to be the teacher. Now, no amount of technology will come to your help if you do not have somebody who knows how to use it. Not just how to use it, how to even innovate with it. And I would say that this book, ICT Application in ELT, is a book that talks about how a teacher innovated using technology in the class, and in that way becomes an innovation himself. And that, I would say, is the strength of a work like ICT Application in ELT. Because it's a hard task, it's a very difficult thing for anyone to teach language in a very creative way. I would say that is the reason why we have students who come to various courses with a whole lot of problems, despite being taught grammar from high school or even before that. And I would say that this is what really marks this text, because this book is born out of that experience or that experiential teaching. We talk about experiential learning, but I would say that this is the result of experiential teaching, which did educate Praveen in a very interesting, very significant way. And I think the book is a result of that education. I would also say that I am absolutely delighted to receive these books for the department library, and I'm very happy to launch it by one, showing it to you, both the books, and then assuring you that the books will be on display at the Institute of English Library Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. So with these few words, let me show you these two books and then say that I am releasing the book. This is the first book on radio drama, BBC and radio drama experience. And the second book which really also tells us how or what an ELT teacher, language teacher, should be doing in the classroom. So this is the other book that he has done. And as I said, they're all books that came out in 2022. And I must also share with you the fact that Praveen has given me one more book for the library, which is Research Anthology, Film-Based ELT. So they're all in a way interconnected, linked. And Research Anthology, Film-Based ELT is part of Praveen's doctoral research, which is again very interesting because you have a whole lot of people who work on films, but then trying to come up with a book on that, which again is very practical. The kind of discussions that you have there, that I would say is the mark of a true researcher come teacher. So let me also take this opportunity to congratulate Praveen on this remarkable work. I don't want to say achievement. I would like to use the word because I'm sure I look forward to maybe 3 more books from him in another 3 years. So I don't want to say achievement, work. And what it also does is to inspire a whole lot of young people to really look at the richness, look at the possibility that this field has, and emulate Dr. Praveen. Thank you very much once again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for releasing those books. I would also like to thank Professor Hariharan for something else. Almost 1 month ago, I had donated all my dissertations on ELT, which I was an examiner for, and also my collection of books on ELT, which he has received them and has given it to the library of the Institute of English. You will also find them useful. Okay. And now, because
Thank you.
I would also like to make a brief presentation on the 2 books. I'm going to share my screen. These are the 3 books I have donated to these. As you can see, there is a focus on IGLT. There is a theoretical part for that ICT paper, digital images and animation, language lab and technology lab about using film, using video, and so on. I'll mention a few papers, and these are all PowerPoint slides. There is one on Artbeat via Cyber CLT. That is the title of the presentation. And as you can see, you have tasks like this: identify the similarity and differences in the paintings. That is the kind of task you have for this paper. Then there is another one. I wrote this paper around the time when this particular film was released, 12 Years a Slave, and then I related it to human rights issues and presented a paper. So you have that paper in this, of course, focusing on the main theme, as you can see. And then there was another paper from the International Conference of ELTAI presented in Tamil Nadu. Okay, and you can see 4-to-1 ICT-based tasks, interdisciplinary tasks. Okay, in fact, I had chosen The Gift of the Magi, and here what you see is the use of cartoons and relating it to that story and teaching. Okay. Then there was another paper on animations to animate language use and how animations can be used for teaching language functions. You can see Jack and George, and just what kind of task asking them to, what kind of advice can George give Jack? Say Jack is amazed at the thing what George is doing. Okay. And then interpolating films for packaging soft skills. This film, how film clips can be used for teaching soft skills. Can anyone recall the title of this? This is from Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay. Then for teaching spoken English, I identified images. Then write a conversation between the rat and a cat. Okay. So this is from the National Conference on Task-Based Teaching, which I presented. And then how you can move from context to multimedia, and the possibilities, pedagogical possibilities I've tried to explore. Then how you can use visual prompts for nurturing writing skills. This is a scene from a Tamil film I adapted for teaching English. Okay, and then of course about BBC and the radio drama experience. You can see there are chapters on serendipity of the radio medium and how BBC's listening to the BBC can stimulate neurovisual vibrations. Then, of course, about British radio drama and as a genre, and so on. Okay. Now, it is, as was mentioned earlier, this was based on my 1994 dissertation submitted to the Kerala University. Dr. Radha, who was the head of the department then. Okay. And these are two unique sets. The National Panasonic, the advantage was that the reception was very good. And what you have on the right is the Philips radio, which is featherlight, and it's very good reception, which you could receive BBC as though it is from a local station. And of course, I have collections. I make a reference to London Calling. This is the 50th anniversary issue. Okay, and then the 60th anniversary issue. This is not the issue. This is a memento they sent me because I was a regular listener and asked for program schedules which used to come. This is a program schedule which I used to write to, and they had sent me this. These are all my mementos. Okay, then in the book I do make a reference to newsreaders. Okay, and of course how I listen to the live broadcast come telecast. I could only listen because I didn't have a TV connection. See what a charming couple there. You know who they are. And then, of course, there was a historical event, Nelson Mandela being released from prison. Okay, so it was a great opportunity to listen to the live broadcast. Okay, and then, of course, one of the best programs, that is Outlook, presented by John Titmarsh. And that is something unique. And because just to give you, because I hope we have time, just to give you a feel of the kind of language he uses. Okay, I'll just play you a clip from Outlook.
Years ago, John, 1966, Outlook first went on air. Tell us a bit about that time. Well, don't ask me what was in the first program because I haven't the least idea, but this was to be a completely new program. It was going to be 40 minutes live, twice a day, and a recording that went out in the middle of the night to the Caribbean. And it was to include, first of all, the top news stories of the day, 2 or 3 of them looking at the background to events. It was live because of things.
In fact, in the book, I made a specific reference to the kind of language which John Titmarsh uses. So you must listen to his programs. This looks at the program he was presenting, which was called Outlook. It's available on YouTube. I hope you'll watch that. And then, as you know, it's about radio drama, and every year they had a radio drama competition. And one particular year, it was one from someone from the United States, Dane May. And Trucking Maggie here refers to Magna Carta. And so we have articles on that. Then, of course, as Sir was referring to how there are literary texts off-the-shelf programs, where, in fact, I was introduced to these classics only because I was a regular listener of the BBC. Okay, and in fact, the one on the left is one book I really love. Okay, and then of course there's always a reference to cricket, and as it's mentioned here, cricket is about culture. Cricket is about a way of life. Cricket is definitely not just a game, writes Michael Diamond. Okay, so about cricket, and that was the time the Prudential World Cup was played, India and the West Indies. Then of course the program on meridians, I make a reference to that in the book. Okay, how to get, it's an opportunity for you to get to know about the arts program. And of course, polishing your general knowledge by listening to the Brain of Britain. And what is unique about drama is that microphones as lie detectors. It's a ruthless medium for revealing insincerity of formula acting. Okay, so you get a lot about the possibilities of audio, and then the second part, as you can see, is a comparison of the radio drama and the stage drama. As you can see, is Samuel Beckett here in the studio. And what you see is on the right is a scene from Endgame, okay, stage. And in the book and also in my dissertation, I was trying to compare the audio play and the radio play and what makes the audio play unique. Why you can't have an audio play as a stage play. And of course, the second one is one by Harold Pinter. You have here, this is his family voice, this is his audio play, radio play. and dumbwaiter is a stage play. And I make a comparison to find out the uniqueness of the audio medium. Okay, so both these books are available on my, you can purchase them. You can visit my website, which is New Curator Pedagogue. If you visit that, scroll down and you can, if you're interested, buy this. So thank you all so much for listening to me. May I now request Parvati to offer the vote of thanks.
Okay, so respected people, Professor Dr. B.Hariharan, who was my teacher in Institute of English, Dr. Praveen, my teacher in Christnagar College of Education, and all other participants. I really consider this a privilege to offer vote of thanks for a function organized by my teacher. For a teacher trainee like myself, programs of this kind is a great learning experience. Listening to the exciting possibilities of using ICT in the classroom is so alluring, and I thank you, sir, for assigning me the role of offering vote of thanks. Now, let me move on to my assigned duty. So, Professor Dr. B.Hariharan has graciously released the books authored by my teacher, Dr. C. Praveen, and the review of the book by a teacher who heads the Department of English in one of the prestigious universities in the country is indeed a great honor for my teacher. So, on behalf of all of us present here and on my personal behalf, I express my sincere gratitude to Head Sir in his absentia. Several participants, friends, and senior teachers have joined the function. All of them have set aside their precious time and graced this occasion with their esteemed presence. So I thank all the participants. Now, talking about our sir, his innovative ideas would surely benefit all the students. And I'm sure that all of us would be really benefited by after reading these books. Okay. And once again, I thank you all for attending this program. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we come to the end of this program. Once again, I thank every one of you for joining. So, thank you. We are ending this meeting. Thank you all once again. Thank you, Parvati. Thank you, Attila. Thank you, everyone.